Welcome back to the Law Simplified. We've been having a discussion on the 5 tips to ace a law exam. So we've gone through up to 2 actually. Number 5 being planning for it. Number 4, read around the subject. Number 3, practicing your answer scripts. Number 2, having an opinion or a point. Now, the number 1 thing that you need to remember when you're trying to ace your law exam. Now remember, it's not passing. Passing you can do through the content and whatever the subject matter given to you by your university. But I'm talking about acing a law exam, going above and beyond and nailing it, pretty much showing your examiner that you've been proactive. So the number 1 thing you need to remember is timing. Most examinations, be it an LLB, be it in any LLB program, is usually 3 hours in length, and you are requested to write 4 out of 8 questions or something along those lines. So if you understand, for instance, if you have to write 4 answers, chances are you'll have 45 minutes per question. Now, if you are really serious about answering LLB questions in a proper manner, you have to at least devote 5 minutes to reading this particular question. This breakdown is quite important in understanding how exactly you need to answer a particular question. Now, you'd note that our third point was to practice writing answer scripts. This is where this third element comes handy, becomes important. That, coupled with a spider graph so that you have a mental image of the path that you need to take, is going to be quite helpful in an examination situation because it's a stressful and a tense environment. So let's look at one particular example of what I mean. Firstly, once we discuss a 3-hour paper, you're looking at 4 questions to be answered. Now, these 4 questions will require 45 minutes per answer. These 45 minutes will actually have to be divided between 2 different things. 5 minutes to actually read the question, understand what it's asking of you, and then break that question down into digestible chunks. Beyond that, you have 40 minutes then per question in order to answer it. Now, what happens to most students is that they tend to, more often than not, answer the very first question exceptionally well. They answer it brilliantly. They utilize a lot of time, sometimes over 1 hour, in order to answer that first question, and then when they realize that they have only 2 hours left, they go on to answer questions 2 through 4 in a lackluster manner. What this in turn does is that you are jeopardizing the results that you will be getting because only the first answer is appropriately written. Now, for example, you need to make sure that each individual question is given an equal amount of time. And why this is important is because, let's say for example, you do the first question within 50 minutes. So you've gone about 5 minutes overboard. You do the same thing in the second and third questions as well. So when you approach or when you start your 4th question, you are at the moment 15 minutes late for that particular question, which means you have roughly 25 minutes to answer an otherwise 40-minute question. Take it the other context. If, for example, you write an answer script and your first 3 questions have been answered brilliantly, but your 4th question, due to lack of time, you have limited it to point form. On the plus side, if an examiner is going through this, if you're lucky, he might mark you for those 3 answers as being exceptional and you will lose out marks on the 4th one. But the worst case scenario would be, once an examiner has gone through the first 3 particular answer scripts and then going on to the 4th one and realizing that you have not completed it, the examiner might think that you have utilized more than 45 minutes for the first 3 questions. And in that context, he will take offense of the fact that although you have answered it exceptionally well, you have gone beyond the allotted time. And every student has been allotted a certain amount of time for each question. So make sure when you actually answer a particular question to utilize equally the amount of time, and this is one of the most important aspects that you need to remember when you're answering questions. Now that you've gone through the 5 tips to ace a law exam, make sure you abide by it and make sure that you go through each individual aspect of it every single time that you study. Just to recap, number 5, plan for it. Number 4, read around the subject. Number 3, practice, practice and practice. Number 2, always have an opinion or a point. And the number 1 most important thing to do and remember is timing. Thanks a lot for joining us in this session. And until next time when we join, have fun, stay safe, and always obey the law.